Grade 11s, if you are a CAT or Computer Application Technology student, then this is the video for you. We are in the year 2025 and we have just received the PAT or the Practical Assessment Task. So I'm just going to use this video to have a little discussion about what is in the PAT document, what to expect, and then what advice you can take going forward. This document is available and I'll put a link to it in the video description. So let's just have a look at what the details are regarding the Grade 11 2025 CAT PAT. Every document has a page explaining what the PAT is. There are 3 reasons to do your PAT besides the fact that it's required. Actually, there's a 4th reason for you grade 11s. So let's talk about those 3 reasons quickly. The Practical Assessment Task is a research project that gives you an opportunity to demonstrate all the skills that you've learned this year. It's a way to show off everything you've learned both in Word, in your Excel, in your Access, in your website design, and even your research skills and understanding data. So this is basically a project to say, okay, I've learned a lot of skills this year and now I'm going to show it off in one big project. So that's the main reason for the PAT, is to show off everything that you've learned. Now there are other reasons which might not be obvious, but they are implied. If I scroll down to the bottom here, just take note here, the PAT counts 25% of your final mark for CAT. That is a significant portion. It's the same amount as one of your exams at the end of the year. So this is technically like an exam. It is compulsory, you have to do it. Because of its weighting, this is a really great opportunity. Even if you're struggling in the subject or you're not getting the marks that you want, you can get a really great mark for your PAT. Even if you're someone who gets 60% for CAT, you can do all the tasks and get a good 80%. And that can help push your mark up at the end of the year. It can actually increase your mark by 5 or 10%. And the reverse is also true. If you do not work on your PAT, if you leave things out, if you just don't take it seriously, if you are someone who normally gets 80%, then the PAT could drop your mark into the 70s or 60s if you don't do it properly. So don't neglect the PAT. This is a way to improve your mark. So use that opportunity. Another advantage is that because you are going through your Word and your Excel Access, it's helping you revise for exams. And as grade 11s, the 4th reason is that it's going to help prepare you for your grade 12 PAT. If I look here at what you need to complete, there are some things that are missing from the grade 12 PAT, but not a lot. Majority of this PAT is very similar in structure and what you need to do with your grade 12 PAT. So by doing this grade 11 PAT, you are going to get a bit of extra practice and know what to expect for next year. So it might actually be a good idea after you've completed the PAT, maybe at the beginning of your grade 12 year, to go speak to your grade 11 CAT teacher and say, what can I do to improve? What were my weaker areas in my PAT? And then you know what to focus on. But this is going to be a really good way to get used to what to expect so that next year you can do even better in your PAT. So when they talk about what you need to do, there are 3 phases for the CAT PAT. You'll see there's phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. The main deadline that they mention over here is that it needs to be handed in at least 3 weeks before the start of your final grade 11 exams. You will need to discuss this with your CAT teacher. They will give you the exact date. Just make sure that you take note of that date and make sure that you are getting through everything in time. So let's just look at the outline of these different phases. So the first phase is going to just be a folder structure and a document with information. So you're going to create a summary planning document. There's going to be a suitable folder structure. You're going to have a focus question. You're going to have some questions that are going to help guide your research and introduce you to a bit of the topic and doing some research from relevant sources to guide your understanding on the topic. As you can see, that's going to count 32 marks. Then the phase 2 is going to be 4 main parts. It's going to be a questionnaire that you create in order to get more information about the topic. This is more opinion-based information. Then you're going to take that information and put it into a spreadsheet along with other information and then do some queries and summaries and charts to see what that information can tell you. What are some interesting trends and findings that you have discovered? There's a database element. Now, what's different in grade 11 is compared to grade 12 is that you are actually going to be given a database. And so there's a whole series of databases that they've provided for you. You're going to pick one and then you are going to use your database skills like editing the tables, creating queries on that database. And then the last bit is just updating your document from the phase 1. You're just going to be taking your spreadsheet charts. You're going to take some information you found from the database, just some general information that you found out from your phase 2, and you're just going to put it into your phase 1 document. And you can see that is 40 marks. That is slightly more than the phase 1. The phase 3 is just a website. In grade 12, you'll be doing a website and doing quite a bit to your report document. But in grade 11, the focus is that this website is a way to present the information from your survey, from your research on the topic. And that's going to count 48 marks. So as you can see, it's 120 in total. So let's talk about what the topic is for the 2025 grade 11 PAT. And the topic is the change in delivery and courier industry. So they're talking mainly about those times when you want to buy something from like Temu or Shein, or you buy something on Takealot, and there's a process where you get notifications regarding the package is being collected, the package is now en route, those type of things. So it's something to do with the logistics of courier companies. I know there's a big trend using what's called Pudo. Pudo are those little boxes at different places around the country where you can just drop off an item into one of the lockers, get it sent somewhere in the country. So those type of things, anything to do with the delivery or courier industry. So they're talking about maybe there's newer technology that can make deliveries a lot easier. I know someone who works at Amazon in Seattle, and they were talking about getting their delivery time in Seattle down to 2 hours. So in other words, if you order something from Amazon, they can have it on your door within 2 hours if they have it in stock. And the way they do that is by using drone technology. So there's a lot of new technologies that are happening with regard to the courier and delivery industry. Yeah, they just give you a nice little summary about improving communication, the processes, the logistics involved, even the use of AI in these delivery and courier services. So this is just information about the topic. Now they come over here and your task is to choose one of the following options to research. They've actually given you two. You can either investigate how is technology used in online sales, or you can focus on the actual delivery and courier services. So there's two aspects to it. So either focusing on online sales, how do people buy things, the websites involved, the recommendation systems, those type of things, or you can go into how, once you've purchased something, how do you get that item, what are the delivery processes and logistics involved. So you're going to pick one of those two categories. And then they give you a focus question. Now in grade 12, you're going to have to create your own focus question. But here they actually give you the focus question. They say, what is the impact of technology on the online sales industry for companies established, small or rural in South Africa? So that is your focus question if you take the online sales option. If you take the courier or delivery service option, you can say, what is the impact of technology on the delivery and courier services in South Africa? So they actually give you the focus question. Now you just need to focus on that. Every time you are doing one of the tasks, you are going to ask yourself, what is this task doing that's going to help me answer this question? So make sure you've got that question at the back of it. So depending on which one you pick, depends on which is going to be your focus question. And they give you some videos that you can watch to understand the topic as well. The more you understand the topic, maybe watching both videos, then you can get a better idea of which of those two options you want to focus on. Do a little bit of research, find out about the two topics, and then pick the one that you think is grabbing your attention. So they give you a whole bunch of resources that you can research, a whole bunch of websites. So these relate to the delivery and courier services. You're going to be asking yourself questions to guide your research on the topic. That's going to be part of the phase one. So these questions that you're going to create are going to help you understand the topic, are going to help you understand what you are looking for. And it's basically like research. So what they've done in grade 11 is they've actually given you a whole bunch of questions over here on the online sales industry, and here are some questions about courier and delivery services. So in grade 12, you are going to have to create these questions yourself. What's nice about grade 11 is they're easing you into this. They're giving you a way to experience this. And so they are saying you can use up to 8. You don't have to use 8. You can use less, but you can use not more than 8 of these questions. You can rephrase them in your own words, but these can guide you on the questions that you are going to ask yourself and research the answers to help better understand either the online sales industry or the courier delivery services. So you can pick up to 8 of them. You are still going to have to create 2 of your own. And so we are going to use this to guide our information about what we think about the topic, what is the research that's out there. So you need 10 questions in total. So you can use up to 8. You don't have to use all 8. You could have more questions of your own. You can't use more than 8. You can't just pick 10 from here. You have to come up with 2 of your own. But this can give you an idea of what the type of questions you can use. Now, my suggestion whenever it comes to these questions is it's a lot easier to know which questions you want to use if you've already got the answers. So by doing research, by looking at these websites and maybe looking at a couple of other websites, you can find out what information there is already out there. And by using that information, finding websites, oh, this website's got information on this topic or it answers this question, you can then almost like reverse gear the questions. You can say, well, this question's answered in that source, so therefore I'm going to use that question and so on. So finding the answers first is sometimes a better way to determine which questions you are going to use. That's just a little tip. And so let's just quickly talk about the different phases. I'm not going to go into too much detail in. We've got lots of videos that will guide you through the phase one. So what I'm going to be doing is I'll make individual videos about things that are particularly different in the grade 11 PAT. And then whenever there's something that's very similar or the same that is done in the grade 12, I'll just tell you which videos to use for that. So the key here is you must become a subscriber to the YouTube channel at Mr. Long IT and CAT, so that when we post videos on the CAT PAT, you don't miss them. So make sure that you do that. If you've got a TikTok account, also follow us on TikTok at Mr. Long Education, because we do post information there as well whenever we post new videos. Make sure that you're following those accounts, and then you will be kept up to date whenever we post new videos. The task one is going to be first creating a folder structure for your information. This little bit over here, they talk about if you've got hard copies. Now, I'm hoping that most of the information that you use, your questionnaires, your research, the documents that you find are going to be digital. So therefore, we don't have to worry about hard copies. But they do say here that if you have hard copies, you need to provide them, but only those that are not available electronically. Don't print out your electronic sources, just if there's any hard copy stuff. But you can read. Hopefully we don't need to worry about this. Hopefully we can just keep to digital resources and information. And a big thing as well, guys, please make sure you're making regular backups. Don't just back up at the end of a phase. Make sure that after every time you've worked on the PAT for a couple of days, make a backup. It often happens that something goes wrong. Either you lose the data or something goes wrong with the hard drive, and then you got to restart the PAT. If you've got backups saved at a different location, for example, that will make your life a lot easier if something goes wrong. Get in the habit of making backups. Your second task is going to be creating the actual document that's going to go into the first part of the folder structure over there. So they're going to ask you to make a cover page, but that'll only be assessed in the phase 2. They even give you the headings. The headings are mostly the same to grade 12. There are some slight changes, but you've got some nice little headings here. And you will probably fill in all the information except for the summary part. That part you're going to do at the end of the phase 2, and you're going to have some addendums where you're going to have in the appendices, for example, a screenshot of your folder structure, your declaration of authenticity, that type of thing. Then you're going to go to what's going to go into the report. It allows your focus question. You can change and edit the focus question. Just a reminder, you can choose one of these two. You're required to answer one of them, but you need to change it. There's actually a mark in the rubric where it says, have you edited this focus question to adapt to your scenario? You can change it slightly. You can add maybe a more specific target audience, maybe people in your province, or what is the impact of technology on teenagers who buy things online. Make sure that you pick the one that you like and then change it slightly so that it is relevant for what you want to study. There is a mark for changing it. If you just leave it as is, you're going to lose that mark. So make sure that you adapt the focus question. Keep it close to what it is, but just add a little flavor to it. Maybe change who your target audience is. Maybe be a bit more specific on what technologies you're looking at. Maybe looking at particular industries. So you can narrow the scope of your focus question so that this project becomes more personalized for you, for what you are interested in. Then you're going to have your task definition, and then you're going to have your questions that are going to guide you. A lot of this is very similar to the grade 12. So we've got videos that already cover that. They can help you do all of those aspects. Finding your sources, evaluating your sources. What I do like about this document is they do give you an example of what the sources can look like and the evaluation of the sources, so you can get some idea of how you can motivate that the source is a good source based on the authority, the currency, the accuracy, the objectivity, and the coverage. And then doing your research on that information, finding the summaries. So that's what you're going to be doing for your phase 1. So we will create a video which goes through the phase 1 and what is different to the grade 12 PAT. Here they give you the rubric. As you can see, the focus question, you must amend it. Means you must edit it appropriately, Make sure that you focus on, make sure that's researchable. So that you've got an idea of the big picture of what all you're going to be doing. We have videos that are going to go into more detail, but you're going to be creating a questionnaire. Now, the questions you did in phase 1 are more about research, about what is the information that's already out there, what are the trends. Now, you want to find other information about people's opinions, and that's where the questionnaire is going to come in. And you can use a Word document, or I would suggest using Google Forms or Microsoft Forms. That's a lot easier to collect the data. And they go through the types of questions that you can ask just to get more information about people's opinions. For example, in this case, which delivery services have you used? You could ask something like that. You can say, how often do you make online purchases? Those are going to be the type of things that you can ask to get some information from people and see what the trends are from the people that you are targeting. For example, if you are targeting South Africans in your province, then you're obviously going to interview people in your province. If you are focusing on young people under the age of 20, what are their trends when it comes to buying online or their experiences with regard to getting online deliveries, then that's going to be who you're going to send your questionnaire to. So they go through the structure of it. The questions here are very important because if you get your questions right in your questionnaire, the rest of the phase 2 flows very nicely. It becomes very difficult if you've got bad questions that aren't useful in your questionnaire. And then when you get your phase 2, you don't know how to interpret that information. You don't know how to find trends. So make sure that you spend a lot of time making sure that that questionnaire is good, that it's giving you valuable information. And they give you lovely tips about how to structure your questions. What's also different about the grade 11 PAT is that you only need 20 people to fill in your survey. In grade 12, it tends to be 25. Now, I know 5 doesn't seem like that much, but my suggestion is the more people that fill in your information, the better your data is. So don't be afraid to go above 20. And then you're going to take the data and put it into a spreadsheet. You need to put other data as well in the spreadsheet that you found, particularly maybe from your research, but you need to analyze using formulas and charts the information in the spreadsheet. And as I said, it must be both information from your questionnaire as well as information from some other source. You need at least 2 relevant graphs that give you information that you can talk about. I suggest doing more than 2, but you need at least 2. And here's the one big difference between grade 11 and grade 12. With the database, they're going to actually give you a database. There's a whole bunch that they provided. There's a folder for them. I'll provide a link to where you can get the database from, but your teacher will probably give it to you. They give you a whole bunch of options, so you can go through them and find which one you find is the more useful one. And if you open one, for example, let's open this one, you'll notice that the table has not been named very nicely. And if I open it, there's a whole bunch of data that's in here, and we can see all that information over there. Just make it a bit bigger. So you are going to have to fix the database. So for example, give it a better name. You're going to come here to design view and maybe change some of these field sizes, maybe give a validation rule and just make the database a lot more functional. And then you're going to be using queries on that data. When you are choosing your database, make sure you look at the information, go, yes, I can do some queries on this, find out how many people had a discount available, finding the average price of items, maybe finding the average price per category, things like that. Information that you can then talk about in your summaries. You're going to rename it, change the fields, and you're going to create at least 2 queries, and they give you details about what those queries must be. And then once that's done, you're just going to take that information from the queries, take the information from the graphs, you're going to paste it into your document under the summary section, and maybe a good idea would be just write a little bit of information about what is that chart or that query telling us? What is the trend that you're picking up? And that's what you're going to hand in for your phase 2. And then we have the rubric. Very easy to get the marks, making sure that you tick off everything to make sure that you get all the marks. And then lastly, your phase 3, that is just a website. Point is you want a website to share your knowledge and recommendations. The information that you've got from your document is going to help you with this. So you're going to create a website with at least 3 pages, a home page and 2 other pages. Your home page, they tell you what must be in there. The second page talks about what you found out, some facts, some interesting information. So not just pictures of the charts. You want to actually talk about what you found out. So you really need to understand the information. Maybe there's in your research, there were things then that you picked up there. You can talk about that there. And then your third page is going to create a web page to advertise online sales or your courier delivery service. So they actually give you very specific topics for each of the 3 pages. So make sure that you follow those instructions. Make sure that they are well laid out and consistent appearance, making sure that you're using all of your HTML skills to create this website. And then that's what you're going to hand in. And then there's the rubric. So there we have a grade 11, an overview of your PAT, of what to expect now that you've got the big picture. Now we can start looking at the individual aspects and the individual tasks that are going to help you accomplish this big picture, this big project. Remember, you are showing off all the skills, so everything you've learned. So take note, like if you haven't used a particular formula in Excel that you've learned this year, then find a way to use it. If there is a tag in your HTML tag sheet that you haven't used in your website, find a place to use it, because you want to show off everything that you've used. And it is very possible to get a really good mark for your PAT. You just have to make sure that you accomplish everything. It's going to require some time management. You need to make sure that you're on top of things, make sure that you are hitting all the goals, make sure that you are reading this document all the time, going, have I done that? Have I done that? Going back to the rubric every time you have a phase to hand in and say, okay, have I done everything? Make sure that you mark it before you hand in. You want to make sure that you're getting all the marks and you haven't left anything out. Sometimes there's information in the rubric that's not necessarily in the document. But I must say there's a lot of clarity in this document. It tells you exactly what you need to do. And that, together with my videos, we are going to help you get a great mark for your PAT. So what to now? Now, next thing I want you to take note of is make sure that you, as I said before, subscribe to the YouTube channel at Mr. Long IT and CAT, because I will be posting more videos that are going to help you with the individual phases. There are already videos on the channel that are going to help you with your PAT, that help with grade 12, and they apply to this one as well. I'll have some grade 11 videos that tell you things that are different and then when to refer to a particular video. And I do have a PAT guide, which is for grade 12. You can download it at tinyurl.com/Mr. Long PAT Guide CAT. That is the grade 12 one. But then you can have access to the videos together with the videos from the YouTube channel. You'll be able to do every aspect of the PAT. So I'm excited to go on this journey with you to get maximum marks. Discuss with your teacher what's the next step, what you need to do next, what are the deadlines, make sure that you know that, and then let's get started with this PAT grade 11s. Good luck. As I mentioned earlier, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, make sure that you share us with your friends so we can help them as well. We want to help as many CAT students as possible, and also follow us on TikTok at Mr. Long Education. And remember, don't do it the long way, do it the Mr. Long way.